There's big news from the world of Stargate. It's not quite the news that we were hoping for here at the end of 2019. We're still waiting for MGM to make an announcement that they're doing some new Stargate project. They're making a new show or a new web series or something. But the news that we get here at the end of October in 2019 is that the Stargate Command streaming platform is actually closing. The site's going to close up shop at the end of the year. They're going to take all their existing content, now not the shows, not the episodes of Stargate or the films. Those are still going to be available on streaming platforms, but they're going to take all their video content that they produce. That includes shows like Dialing Home and Recon and Brainstorm. That stuff's all going to move over to YouTube. So StargateCommand.co is going to close at the end of 2019. They're still going to be producing stuff on YouTube. So over at gateworld.net, we've reported this here in the last few days. If you are a member of StargateCommand.co, the website's going to close on December 31st, 2019. The Stargate Command app on your mobile device is also not going to work anymore, starting on that date. MGM said, quote, "It's important to us that Stargate content reaches fans everywhere, and we believe YouTube is the right place to help us achieve that goal." So I think there is a silver lining here, which is that Stargate Command, the premium content behind the paywall, the All Access Pass, has been limited up to this point to 6 countries: the US, the UK, Canada, Germany, Australia, New Zealand. More fans around the world are going to be able to access this, although MGM did stop short of saying that there's not going to be any regional geo-blocking whatsoever on any of the content. The studio did say that the content is going to be available, quote, to a wider global footprint. Now, MGM says that existing members of StargateCommand.co, if you're a paid subscriber and your subscription goes out past the end of this year, into 2020, they're going to contact you. You're going to get a full refund for this year. There's also a sale going on right now. Some of their new merchandise for Stargate is on a deep discount. I just picked up a hat for 50% off. Stargate Command launched a couple of years ago. It launched in September 2017. This was going to be the new platform. It was going to be the new home of Stargate on the internet, and it was going to be the home of Stargate Origins, a 10-part web series that would live exclusively on this platform. Origins premiered in early 2018. The website then relaunched in May of 2019 with a new visual interface, new content, a new user point system with different factions, and a new back-end infrastructure to help with the streaming of the content. So on the one hand, this news is kind of a bummer. Of course, the site is going away. There's a giant question mark now as to what MGM is going to do with the franchise in the future. But on the plus side, they can reach a lot more people on YouTube. YouTube has an estimated 2 billion monthly users, and that includes 73% of all US households. So, Adam, what do you think of this sort of bombshell that we got here late in 2019?
Yeah, this is, it is bittersweet in some way. I know there were a lot of fans out there who really wanted to participate in the community that was Stargate Command that was only available to 6 countries, and there was such great content like Dialing Home. And so it's kind of globalizing the content that now continues on the legacy of Stargate. Of course, on the flip side, something that has Stargate's name on it is dying, and that is always a bummer. I kind of have post-traumatic stress disorder from that, just from all the times that we thought Universe or Atlantis or the movies or Stargate Worlds or whatever, we were sure, of course, it would continue. Like, of course, smart people are going to find a way for this endeavor to live on. And here, yet again, in about barely over 2 years, Stargate Command has run its product life cycle. And I mean, on one hand, it's like there's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, so many social media platforms that Stargate content lives on and the Stargate fan community lives on. But it was kind of nice to have a home for Stargate, and I wish they could have, broken through some of the regional restrictions and expanded it and kept it going and created new original programming like Origins or like Joseph Malazzi's series Dark Matter. A season of that show was nearly produced specifically for Stargate Command and by Stargate Command to help beef up the original programming on behalf of Stargate Command. And so it's a bit of a missed opportunity, a bit of a bummer.
It was always a bit of a head scratcher to me in the wake of the announcement that all these major studios were going to be doing their own over-the-top streaming service with their library of content. Warner and Disney and all these other studios. When MGM announced that they were going to do Stargate Command, this was a franchise-specific streaming service.
Yeah.
Now, the Stargate franchise, of course, has multiple shows and multiple films, and there was the idea of continuing to produce multiple seasons of Stargate Origins, right? Maybe tell different short-form stories. But it was a one-franchise streaming site, and so the appeal is going to be pretty niche. It's going to be to Stargate fans. And so there's a difficulty of new people coming and discovering that content. But if you've gotten used to watching Stargate on Stargate Command, we should say the 3 films, that's the original 1994 movie, Stargate The Ark of Truth, Stargate Continuum, as well as Stargate Origins, 10 seasons of SG-1, 5 seasons of Atlantis, 2 seasons of Stargate Universe. If you've gotten used to watching that content on Stargate Command, check your local listings, I suppose. In the US, there are other streaming services that have the rights to all of these. At last check, all 3 of the Stargate shows are available on Amazon Prime, if you have a Prime subscription in the US. That, of course, differs from country to country, so check your local listings.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about Stargate Command is I really think it needed more original content or higher profile original content to keep it afloat. Especially when you're answering to studio execs that are, several rungs up the ladder from you. They want to see why this exists besides some nostalgia or besides just being a repository for old shows. And in 2018, Stargate Origins came out, the 10-part digital series, and then the feature cut came out later that year, I believe early this year. And that was enough to garner press from major outlets, Variety, Hollywood Reporter. The industry trades were talking about it. Fans were reviewing it. Stargate was in the public sphere again, and people were visiting Stargate Command. They were clicking the links to Stargate Command. The minute you go a year where you don't debut any kind of original content or original narrative content, the reason it exists, to tell these Stargate Origins stories or to tell smaller scale but in canon Stargate stories, you start, the health of the platform starts to dwindle. And at the beginning of this year in our Stargate in 2019 podcast, I said, I really hope and I think Stargate needs to do another season of Origins this year. If nothing else than to send out another ping notification, remind people in the greater fandom culture and in entertainment media that Stargate exists. Stargate Command is a thing. If you watch the shows when you were a kid, maybe come subscribe to this platform or hang out with us and watch this new show. And something that also tells a story about the Jaffa or something else in canon that fans know and love and remember. That was so needed this year. And that didn't happen. And something like Dialing Home, as great as it is, and as much as I deeply love watching it, it's not going to keep it afloat, and it's not going to keep, big sites like Collider or EW writing about the platform or the content.
Right.
So for me, it was kind of a bad sign when I didn't see anything happen this year. Nothing was even announced or put into early pre-production. I was kind of hoping that maybe, Brad Wright was working on an actual show or someone else was working on a movie or a show. But even then, if they're working with these content creators, that might be for Netflix or cable TV or something. It might not be for Stargate Command. So Stargate Command is kind of doing everything and nothing at once. And I think it just sputtered out, and there wasn't enough strategy and conviction in the vision or just budget to push it forward into what it needed to become to stay alive.
Well, it certainly was the plan. The plan was to continue to produce content, not just the articles and the polls and the quizzes and stuff that we have seen this year, but to continue to make original video content. We had the messaging when the site launched was Stargate is back. We do want fans to be aware that this is a living, breathing franchise. The reason why the site is now shutting down has not really been revealed. That story hasn't been told publicly yet. So all we can do is look ahead to 2020 and say conversations are still happening. Something's in the works. And I guess we're going to report it for you at Gateworld as soon as we hear some concrete news that we can grab onto. But I understand fans worried about the fact that this is bad news that just signals that Stargate is over and MGM doesn't know what to do with it, etc.
Yeah.
Let's read some feedback that fans have posted over at gateworld.net. Nekomajin says this: I can see 2 possibilities. First, there were too few active subscribers to support the service, so they had to act before the whole thing falls apart and they lose more money. Giving a full refund and close the shop almost immediately means less loss than waiting for those subscriptions to run out. Second, there were enough subscribers to make it profitable or at least break even, but something happened in the background, so they had to act quickly. It can either mean good or bad. We will see. Anyway, the whole thing just doesn't add up. Shutting everything down in 2 months, plus publishing every material on YouTube for free, giving a full refund, even to those people whose subscription is valid only until January or February, is very strange. Adam, what do you make of this comment?
I think this comment is pretty on point. I mean, I do think it's a little sudden, and it's something where it raises the question, why didn't you just put this content on YouTube in the first place? It would have been easier, it would have been cheaper, there would have been less startup cost. So it has to be that they just didn't have enough revenue coming through Stargate Command, and they had to resort to what they wanted to do, maybe what they were going to do in the first place, or what the default is, just to put all the trailers and archive material on the YouTube channel. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy it's on YouTube, but it is just too sudden for it to be business as usual.
There is new content that's been produced that we haven't seen yet. When they launched sort of year 2 of Stargate Command, we got, one of the things that we saw was a trailer for what they were calling Season 2 of Dialing Home. That's the behind-the-scenes interview show that's hosted by Christopher Judge, who played Teal'c, and by David Reed, who's formerly of Gateworld. And they showed footage in this trailer of interviews with Brad Wright and with Robert Picardo and others. That material exists, and boy, I sure hope it makes it to Stargate Command's YouTube channel pretty soon. The Unending says, while I'm excited that MGM is abandoning the pay-to-play website, one that they've been desperately advertising, I'm also worried. I'm worried because it's a step backwards and basically an admission of defeat. In no way does this tell me that MGM is moving towards more content or future shows, especially with discounted merchandise. In fact, it shows me the opposite. I think Stargate is officially dead. It felt dead in 2011 when SGU was canceled, but now it feels like the rebirth attempt has failed. I have my opinion on why, and I've been vocal about what should have been done, but none of that matters now.
So I feel like this comment, while like deeply valid in its critiques and frustrations, is a little too pessimistic on the long-term outlook of Stargate. You know, as media evolves and as streaming evolves and as the industry evolves, you know, what worked 2 years ago might not be working as well now, or the market might be too flooded with, you know, Apple TV and HBO opening up all their own streaming platforms. Like, we're about to have a very, very oversaturated market, and Stargate Command might just be the most recent casualty of that. I don't think Stargate is officially dead, but it would be naive to not to call this a setback. So in that sense, I do understand where this person is coming from.
I think MGM highly values Stargate. I think they value the IP, they value the brand, and there's going to be something new. It does feel like a setback, but I think it's probably not that they've decided to pull the plug on Stargate and its future, but they've decided to sort of shift gears strategically about what Stargate's presence is online and sort of where they're going to put their resources right now. The last comment I want to read comes from Verge. Verge writes, while unfortunate, at least for me, I don't find this terribly surprising. Stargate Command really only made sense as long as MGM was going to continue producing exclusive new scripted content for it. MGM tried with Origins, missed the mark, and apparently doesn't feel comfortable trying again. So all that's left is a $20 a year legacy service, which, despite its cheap cost, is a tough sell in today's market. There are numerous other studios already launching their own services with much larger content catalogs, and importantly, lots of new content to go with it. Meanwhile, ignoring for the moment that everything sans Origin can be purchased once and forever on disc, MGM didn't even have exclusive streaming rights for their show, which further undermines the value. Why pay for Command when you already get it for free elsewhere? I wouldn't be terribly surprised to find out down the line that MGM is getting ready to sign a new multi-year deal to exclusively license their content out to another service, for example, HBO Max or Peacock. Clearly, there's value left in Stargate, but not enough to make it its own streaming service.
Yeah, so this is a pretty shrewd industry analysis of the situation. Clearly someone who's acquainted with the state of the industry and more of a business side than a fandom side right now.
Yeah.
I think this person's dead on with all of their analysis. $20 a year is, you think, oh, it's not that bad. But like when you look at, oh, I'm paying for 8 streaming services, or I'm paying for this plus this subscription plus whatever. I mean, there's just, modern life has never been more complicated. Every dollar has to go to something of value. And if you think, well, I already have SG-1 on DVD, and the Stargate movie is on Amazon, and on Hulu, I get Stargate Universe. So if we're not seeing another feature cut of Origins, if we're not seeing Chris Judge's Origins story that he wanted to make, is it really worth $20? And I think the answer is no for a lot of people. And that probably was part of the downfall.
I did think that Stargate Command was a good value at $20 a year, right? That's less than $2 a month. Even though I have the shows on DVD, I have an Amazon Prime account, I have access to Hulu, just the convenience of being able to pull it up in a web browser really quick, right? For Gateworld work, to go and grab a good quality screen capture from an episode, not to mention all the other content that was included with the All Access Pass.
Yeah, and I think in corporate culture, corporate entertainment culture, sustained growth is key to survival. So Stargate Command had a pretty good start. I mean, I don't know the numbers. I don't know how much was being made or lost. I don't know how financially successful Origins was. But from my perspective, Origins and the feature cut and Stargate Command and Dialing Home, it had a pretty impressive launch. Problem was, it didn't really grow, and nothing happened quickly enough to then attract even more people, or start to, fans who are maybe resistant to it, they start to be convinced this is a good sell. It was declining consistently, not, blossoming consistently. And that can only happen so long before somebody's going to say, cut the cord.
That's going to do it for us today. We'd love to hear what you think of this news. Stargate Command closing. Have you used the site? Have you been a paid subscriber of the site? Do you have somewhere else where you're going to go to get your Stargate fix? Leave us a comment on our YouTube channel, or you can find us on Facebook or Twitter, or head over and post a comment on the news story at gateworld.net. And of course, keep your browser locked to gateworld.net for the very latest in Stargate news.